This is Untethered, where we live stream the world. Today we are live streaming the American Memorial Park Visitor Center here on Saipan. I'm Wesley Green, and I'm joined by Scott Smith, and hopefully Erica will be joining us momentarily. But Scott, what's going on? Like, got a glare. I don't see.
The glare is just my old bald head. What's going on? Nothing. I did some yard / housework that was like construction with hammers and drills and stuff, and it really wore me out.
Oh, all right. Well, I get from that. I take it it's evening where you're at.
It is now. Yeah,
all right.
It's 7:30 p.m. where I am in the Eastern time zone of America.
Oh. It's 10:30 here on Saipan in the morning. Not at night, as you can see. Hopefully you can see that. I should mention too, we've been to this park before. That we had an episode before at American Memorial Park, and I would like to have done it all in the same episode, but I didn't realize visitors are only open 3 days a week, so we were not here on the right day. And I wanted to get it because it's got a good history of Saipan's role in World War II. I think it's worth seeing, but if you come, just make sure you come on the day that the visitor center is open. That way you can see it all in one shot. But we're here. We're gonna. I'm sure at some point we'll link to the other episodes.
Don't go to the visitor center on a day it's closed if you're hoping to see the visitor center.
Right, unless you just want to see it from the outside, which I don't know that's the thing, but you never know what people are into.
You do you. I don't know.
You do you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and flip this around because I'm standing on something kind of interesting. Anyway, I like it because my degree is in geography, so I like maps, and I'm standing on a giant map, which I think is kind of cool. So it's a big, I don't know if you can tell, it's a big mound, like it's a, what do they call it? A half dome, or I guess just a dome. It's a dome. On the ground here, and the dome is a map. And at the top, you're almost on Saipan. I don't know why they didn't put you on Saipan, but those are the Mariana Islands right there on the map. And you can see off in the distance there, you've got Australia and New Guinea. And I'm not sure what that island is, but you can see the Philippines and a bit of Indonesia.
That's the island Amelia Earhart was trying to get to.
In Indonesia.
No, the smaller one. I don't know.
Then we have China and China and Korea and Japan and Russia. And as you turn this way, you've got Alaska, Canada, in a little corner of the United States, the northwestern United States. You've got Hawaii right there, and various other islands. I'm not sure. I think this one over here is Midway, and I think this one is Palau.
It looks like Missouri.
I don't think Missouri is floating around in the Pacific, but
not yet. Wait till global warming happens.
Then it'll float away.
So long, Missouri. You're so buoyant.
All right. Well, we got one more map on the ground to look at.
All right.
Well, that's a popular thing here, but it's kind of interesting. Hi, Carlos. There's Carlos.
There's Carlos.
He's our guide.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
We got one more.
Oh.
On the ground, and I feel like the gimbal is not cooperating. Let's try again. Okay. All right. So this one is Guam. This is Guam. And as we pan up, you can see Rota, and the next two islands up there are Tinian and Saipan. I'm going to go stand on Saipan. The northernmost here is Saipan. And then I want to show you the rest of the islands in the Marianas. You can kind of see, well, maybe I can walk, because you can't see them so great. There's little tiny green tiles on the ground represent the islands, all the islands. I think there were, 14? 14 islands in the Marianas. Right. And see the distance. You remember where, like, you see where I started out? Those islands on the far side over there. So the distance between Guam and Saipan on this map is just a few feet, maybe 6 feet, 5 or 6. And the rest of this little map display here is how far it is to the northern islands. And there are people on a lot of these islands. I don't know how many of them have some people on them, but I think none of them have more than a couple of hundred. Because Rota, which is on the list of populated islands, only has a few thousand. So these islands are very, very small. You can see how far out they are. It'd be really cool to go up and see what it's like on those islands, but they are far removed from us. We're a long ways off. All right, anyway. So
must be some really small people to fit on those islands, then. Like
and they're living right here at the sorry, is that the joke you were going for?
I was just going to say it was like Ant-Man. I don't know. Ant-Man's coming. The new Ant-Man movie's coming out this week, so.
Oh, I see.
I guess.
So like most American park visitor centers, there's a theater and a little movie that goes along with it. In the future, I will put a link in the top right-hand corner to the YouTube video that's the movie that's in there.
Oh.
That's a good way to learn it too. Next one.
So I think Wesley said something about this in some of the introductory text on various social media sites, and he said something about it earlier in the or before we went live, that the museum we went to talks about like the history of Saipan in general, but this is just World War II.
Yeah, this is on World War II. It's the American Memorial Park, so it's to honor all the Americans that died in the Battle of Saipan, which includes both U.S. soldiers and local islanders. So I'm going to read to you a few of the little things.
Oh, sure.
The Chamorros made their home in the Mariana Islands for 4,000 years. While the Carolinian people migrated here from the low atolls to the Carolines in the early 1800s. The new Japanese administration taught its own language and culture to the indigenous people. Limited education, religious influence, and youth organizations are instituted with mixed results. The Chamorros and most Carolinians remain devoutly Catholic, a legacy of more than 200 years of Spanish rule. We should probably put a link to in the upper right-hand corner to the episode where we did it at the museum, because it gives you a fuller history of the island.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. There's a lot of neat cultural stuff that we learned about from way back when. It was real. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. I like learning about that kind of stuff.
Right. It was. I think it came out to be a good episode. We had a good tour guide. Archie was great.
That's a big part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Sugar is king. Now we also did Sugar King Park, so maybe that's another link I'll put up there.
We did.
As the sugarcane industry booms, Garapan grows to a population of 15,000, and the Marianas bustle with activity. Japanese, Okinawans, Koreans, Chamorros, and Carolinians farm sugarcane, tapioca, and coffee, produce sake, mine phosphate, and fish. I don't think they mine fish, but okay. Life improves as the Japanese administration builds new roads, a narrow gauge railway, and provides jobs and free medical care. A wide variety of consumer goods also becomes available. Unfortunately, Koreans, Chamorros, and Carolinians are treated as lower class citizens.
As symbolized by the bike ridden by the Wicked Witch of the West in we see here.
That's right. Yeah.
Sure, that's what it is. Hey, there's Russ.
Oh, we got
Russ is
Hey,
here.
Russ, how you doing?
Friend of the show, Russ Upton.
Japanese yen.
Our history expert, literally our history expert.
Yeah. You got Japanese yen. We've got sake bottles. Good.
Russ says he's doing good.
Okay.
Were they playing baseball in that? It looked like they were wearing baseball uniforms.
Well, baseball even today is not popular in Japan.
It is.
But
It is.
They actually look like they're playing leapfrog in baseball uniforms.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people in the U.S., Major League Baseball will go play in Japan in the off season for us, or have played over there if they're not playing for somebody here a team here in the U.S. hadn't been picked up or something. Yeah, it's a big deal over there. In fact, one of the best players of last year was from Japan.
Like in the American League.
Yes, in Major League Baseball here in the U.S. I think his name was Shoshani. I can't think of his name. I think he played for the Angels, California Angels. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
It's popular there. I think he's from Japan. I don't think he's Japanese American. I think he is like from Japan, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. I don't follow the Angels very closely, but
I mean, baseball is not as popular as soccer, but internationally, but it's not just popular in the United States.
Right. We've got some people that play for the Braves too, who are from Latin American countries and Puerto Rico, who have gone to play in those areas during the off season as well. So anyway, sorry.
During the 1930s, the Japanese began to construct and improve facilities. Projects include building a seaplane base, a Leto airfield, and lighthouses. Saipan Harbor is also dredged to provide anchorage for larger ships. All proved to be useful in wartime. By 1943, Koreans, Chamorros, and Carolinians are conscripted as forced laborers, constructing gun emplacements and fortifications as the Japanese prepare for war. In 1944, American submarines hinder plans by disrupting the arrival of additional soldiers and supplies.
Okay, Russ got the name that I couldn't remember. It's Shohei Ohtani. Yes, he's a very good pitcher and a very good hitter. He's one man show.
Is that what you call? All right. Well, you know I love maps, so here we are, another map.
No, that's fine.
So Russ is an expert not just in history, but also baseball.
Well, baseball is about the only thing that I consider myself to be at least somewhat well versed on as far as sports go. I kind of know a little football stuff, but Major League Football, but professional football, excuse me.
Okay, so we're in Garapan. Garapan is here. The park is here. And start here, and just to let you know, I live. Oh, Susupe is down here. Camp Susupe, Lake Susupe, are places we've been up here on the show. And then you go in just a little bit farther. I actually live down this part. So this is the original, the D-Day landing. And I think that is where remember the tank, the episode where we had the tank? We saw the tank that was at the beach and it was on top of a pillbox?
Yes.
Okay, so that's here.
What are the distances like? Can you give us some idea of like the scale?
I don't think they have a scale printed on here, but it took us to come from where I live down on the far end up to Garapan, which you can see is not quite half of the island, linked to the island, but pretty close. Took less than 10 minutes. We didn't have any traffic today, so that's pretty easy. And then there's the whole length of the island is only 12 miles. So from this far into that, it's only 12 miles.
Okay, well that helps. So the length of the island is 12 miles. So yeah, okay.
So there's no major limited access highway, but if you were driving highway speeds, it would be less than 15 minutes for the whole island. So fairly small. It is a small island. So number 2 is Leto Airfield. That's about where the current airport is, the international airport.
Okay,
I think Leto just got expanded into.
I think I saw over there it says this is how the island looked in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
As far as buildings and stuff, obviously the landscape hasn't changed, I would imagine. But
I actually wonder about that. I've never seen anything about if the bombardment actually changed the landscape of the island, but I
oh
imagine
my
it could
god,
have.
that'd be a
It was pretty heavy. Heavy.
hell of a lot, hell of a bombardment.
It was. I mean, it
Well,
was
no,
pretty.
I mean, to change the shape of the island. Wow.
Mm. Well, I'm talking about the mountain, not the
Oh.
outline. Like I don't know if anything was destroyed, like the mountain itself was
Oh, Russ says he is
crumbled
not
in
an
the middle.
expert on baseball. He can just use the internet.
All
He
right, fair
says that
enough.
the island is 12 miles long and 5.6 miles wide. So there we
Yeah.
go.
And when they
There's
say 5.6 miles, they're talking about this far point in Cagman all the way over to Garapan. If you can see the shape of the island, most of it isn't even that wide. But yeah, so the 5.6 miles.
yeah.
All right, so they took the airfield. That was the next thing. And then there's Nafton. Let's see, that's for counterattack. So then there was a counterattack at Nafton. The Japanese break out of Nafton Point and attack the newly renamed Isley Airfield. Okay. Second Battalion, now we're up to five. Oh, let's see. Mount Tapochau is here. I'm just looking for five. Oh, five is right there. So that's Mount Tapochau, the only mountain on the island. Second Battalion of the 8th Marines and the 1st Battalion of the 29th Marines capture Mount Tapochau. U.S. forces now possess this strategic viewpoint. There's a limited number of cards you can put, but we did Mount Tapochau. If I've got enough, I'll put a card in the top right-hand corner for the episode we did on Tapochau. And then 6, we're moving farther over this other side of the mountain. U.S. Army captures Death Valley and Purple Tart Ridge, and the 2nd Marine Division takes 4 small pinnacles north of Mount Tapochau. Okay, next is Garapan, right? Garapan and Tanapag. 2nd Marine Division captures the town of Garapan in the first urban fighting of the Pacific War. Garapan is a town. It's a small one, but next day, the 2nd Marine Division, the 27th Infantry Division, occupied Tanapag Village. That's slightly north, and that's the harbor, so they've got the harbor then. And then on number 8, July 7th counterattack. That's up higher, up farther north. At 3 a.m., close to 3,000 Japanese soldiers attacked the 105th and 165th Regiments of the U.S. Army's 27th Infantry, Marines of the 10th Artillery Regiment, and remnants of the 2 Army regiments halt the attack. Organized Japanese resistance ends at Tanapag Village. That's here. You see what they were capturing was the airfield, the harbor, and this is seaplane base. And it's capturing all the strategic points.
Yeah.
A little farther north, 2nd and 4th Marine Divisions quickly advanced toward Marpi Point, pushing Japanese forces and civilians north. Japanese soldiers and civilians take their lives through mass suicide. That's here north.
Oh man.
By July 9th? Oh, okay, so it's now this one I'm just going to try and get us here before we leave the island. This is where a lot of the sites for the for World War II are at. Probably more collected here than the whole rest of the island together. Because
you said that upside down 9 there. That's where they committed like ritual suicide. A lot of them.
Yeah, so that happened from this point north, but the major points were the one called Suicide Cliff, where they just jumped the cliff, and then Bonsai Cliff, where they would jump off into the water. We'll see more of that as we go through the visiting center.
I mean, I understand it was their code and all, but you just hate to see that sort of waste of human life.
Well, it was terror too. I mean, there was a lot of propaganda against the United States, and they were afraid to be caught.
Yeah, that's true too.
So the next thing is Tinian. See, we're starting with 10. So we took Tinian after Saipan, and the first was look over here. Shanghai. I'm less familiar with Tinian, obviously. But they call it the diversionary landing. So I think that means the arrow is pointing to where they were showing they were gonna or pretending they were gonna land, and then the arrow shows where they actually diverted the landing point. U.S. forces staged a diversionary landing near Tinian Town, concealed Japanese gunners, hit the U.S. naval battleship Colorado and destroyer Norman Scott. And then up here, you can see the 11. By sundown, more than 15,000 U.S. Marines secured a 3,000-yard wide and mile-deep beachhead. On to 12 is right there. Between 2 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., the Japanese launched 3 separate but unsuccessful counterattacks. 13, Mount Maga. The U.S. 2nd Marine Division lands on Tinian. U.S. forces capture Mount Maga and Ushi Point airfield with little resistance.
Okay, Russ says he read that the reason they tried to capture the island was so they would have a base for B-29s to bomb Japanese home islands.
Yep, actually we didn't get to that part yet, but that is correct. That was the purpose of capturing Saipan.
Russ jumped ahead.
That's all right. That is the reason.
This sounds like a lot of, like, mostly Marines, it sounds like, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My grandfather on my mother's side was in the Japanese theater in the Navy, in Scouts and Raiders, which was the program, at least, was the precursor to what would become the Seagulls currently. And he was involved in some urban fighting in Japan, I think.
Oh, in Japan. Okay. I was just going to ask if you know where he was in specific.
We were told, away from him, obviously, not to ask too much about it, because if he got to thinking about it, he would have nightmares. And
sure,
which makes sense. But we were allowed to listen if he started talking about it. And I always tried to be very attentive to that sort of thing, because it was, I mean, the few stories I have are very precious to me about it. But yeah, he took part in a raid on a Japanese gun factory, and he and his squad got these new kind of rifles that the Japanese were making. They got enough for that the government wanted for research and intelligence, and then they each took one for themselves, and then they blew the factory up. And it was so close to the end of the war, no other types of that gun were made. I don't know what the type of gun is.
Do you know what happened to it?
Yeah, my uncle has it.
Still has it? Okay. Nice.
After my grandfather passed, my uncle got it. They each got a
part of history.
Yeah, it is. It's I'm proud of it. And Russ's dad was also served over in that kind of general vicinity. I believe he was a guard for I can't think of the name. He was in India, right, Russ? He was in
Did you say India?
Yeah. He was part of the guards, the people assigned to guard. Geez, the guy's name's going to run on my head, like the most famous Indian person of all time.
Mahatma Gandhi?
Yeah, Gandhi. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Russ says his dad was in the Japanese theater in
India, not in Burma.
Yeah. I remember Russ showed me one time I was down there. Russ showed me like a kukri knife that they'd been gifted, like the guards were, that his dad had brought home. It was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so July 26th, we're on July 26th, and they're up here at number 14. American forces capture northern Tinian, including the Japanese military headquarters at Mount Lasso, without a fight. And then down at 15, Tinian Town is captured. Elements of the 4th Marine Division capture Tinian Town. The tail end of a typhoon passes over the island the same day.
Oh, geez. Boy, I bet that didn't help anybody's nerves.
Right. July 31st, Japanese counterattack. U.S. Marines defeat counterattacking Japanese forces in a 7-hour battle. The next morning, hundreds of Japanese, Okinawan, and Korean civilians commit suicide, while thousands surrender. So they've got a similar. There's actually, I think they don't have it marked here, but I think Tinian has another cliff called Suicide Point where the Japanese, a lot of the Japanese left off here on the south end. So the north end on Saipan and the south end on Tinian. August 1st, island secure. So we're talking about first point in Saipan is June 11th, and by August 1st, both islands were secured.
So less than 2 months they had.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I am skipping over everything. I don't want to read. I mean, I came here the other day and spent over 2 hours just reading everything, and it was really fascinating and kind of hit the high point. So Russ was absolutely right that the reason that the U.S. wanted to capture the islands, these islands, is because they are just within range of U.S. bombers. And we spent a year after that August 1st point. We spent at least a year with more conventional firebombing. They call it Japan before the Enola Gay took off, and it took off from Tinian.
Yes, the firebombing of Japan killed more people than the nuclear bombs. So actually, most all of the island finding was done by Marines, says Russ. Yeah,
makes sense. And just to go over a quick overview of this island, see, in 1943, actually 1942 is the first battle, World War II, and then we had a two-pronged attack across the Pacific. Through Marshall Islands, Guadalcanal is 1943, Marshall Islands 44, coming up north, and then came over and took Mariana Island, and one branch into Palau and the Philippines, and the other towards Japan. But when we took the islands here, when we took Saipan, that was the big turning point where we now can bomb the Japanese. Bomb the Japanese Navy. Okay. You can see too. Even when we were down in Singapore, we didn't do many episodes there, but we were able to see there were World War II sites here in Singapore because the Japanese had taken this area.
Yeah, the Japanese actually, we don't hear about it a lot, or at least when I was coming up and studied history, don't hear about it a lot. But they had like a big area that they had carved out of an empire that they were building over there that included a lot of Eastern China and a lot of Southeast Asia over there that they had taken over.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but if you can see the red dot outline, that's the Japanese Empire.
Okay. Yeah,
that's way up into Russia in the north.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
New Guinea in the south. They took the Netherlands Antilles, which is Indonesia now. Modern day Malaysia, Burma, Thailand, all that.
Yeah, they were. Of course, the Australians who were on the side of the Allies were afraid they were coming for them next.
Right. No, it is. When we go back over, let's see how close. That's Australia.
Yeah.
The red line is just north of Australia.
Australia may have still been British Empire at that time. I don't know that history very well. But,
I feel like they already had independence at that point.
I'm thinking so too. But,
if Russ knows, he can weigh in.
Russ probably.
As he said, he can use the internet. But,
well, no. Russ probably knows that off the top of his head.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I'm just saying, like, just knowing Russ, he probably knows that one off the top of his head.
Supplies across the sea. To keep supplies flowing smoothly to the Western Pacific, the American military employs a fleet of auxiliary ships, including tankers, repair ships, ammunition ships, and cargo vessels. While at sea, the U.S. Navy feeds all personnel aboard ships, and the Marines, once ashore, a single 5,000-ton vessel transports enough supplies to feed 90,000 troops for 1 month. The cargo of large storage issue ships includes as many as 40,000 different items, ranging from dental equipment to government issue coffins.
Russ says the Japanese war machine needed huge amounts of resources that they did not have. Yeah, I mean, that's the tale of a lot of those big empires, armies, isn't it, Russ? I mean, look at the Romans.
That's right. Yeah, logistics is actually the secret to winning a war.
I mean, even look at
More than one.
the Germans during World War II. Part of the reason they were pushing so hard into Russia was to try to get oil fields so they could keep all their tanks running.
Right.
So
The Japanese launched their airborne fighters first. Japanese pilots are ordered to land at Guam after striking the American fleet. They are ordered to refuel, rearm, and return to attack the U.S. fleet. Japanese planes are flown by inexperienced pilots due to a shortage of well-trained airmen. They are no match for American pilots. U.S. airmen and anti-aircraft gunners shoot down 402 Japanese planes, while the Japanese shoot down 26. U.S. pilots sink 2 carriers and damage 3 more. The Japanese Navy's carrier aviation never recovers from the battle, which becomes known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot. On June 22nd, 1940. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I guess by that point in the war, all their more experienced pilots had been killed or captured. I guess they were just throwing younger, experienced people up there.
Yeah. On June 22nd, 1944, the U.S. Army's 165th Regiment, the 27th Infantry, captures Aslito Airfield. The 27th Infantry pushes further south, enduring 10 days of heavy jungle fighting. Captain Sasaki orders casualties will defend Natan Mount. Those who cannot participate in combat must commit suicide. The unsuccessful Japanese counterattack results in the death of many U.S. Marines and approximately 1,050 Japanese soldiers. Many civilians surrender or are captured by American servicemen who transport them to safety of internment.
Yeah, that was something we learned at the other museum.
Sorry,
the native folks, because they didn't know if they were going to be loyal to the Japanese.
Right, that's true. That's right.
So they put them in these internment camps, which is not cool, obviously. But it's also, I guess, a sensible precaution to not entirely trust them either. But that does not justify putting people in internment camps at all.
Well, and the length of time, we'll see later, like how long they were kept, and that's always been a question in my mind, like what was the justification for keeping people in camp after the war ended?
Oh, yeah. There's no reason for that.
The Marines, supported by tanks and armored amphibious vehicles, occupy Garapan, July 3rd, 1944. Most civilians, including Chamorros and Carolinians, had fled the town long before the American invasion. They remain in the crossfire of the island-wide battle, enduring appalling conditions while hiding at ranches or seeking shelter in caves. Each day, more civilians are wounded, killed, or interned in camp.
Russ says the Battle of Midway was where the Japanese took huge. I think he means a lot of pilots were lost during the Battle of Midway. So that's, I guess, why they were having to throw up just anybody that could fly a plane. I think it sounds like at this point.
Right. That does make sense. In a bold move, U.S. Marines seized Mount Tapochau by scaling the mountain. The victory deprives the Japanese of the observation post at the peak and puts it in American hands. Japanese forces remain in control of the mountain's cliff faces, which allows them to inflict heavy punishment on U.S. troops below in Death Valley and on Purple Heart Ridge. After several days of intense fighting, U.S. forces emerged victorious.
They had the high ground. Just like Obi-Wan.
Right. Rather than surrender, Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito takes his life by ceremonial seppuku. The next morning, close to 3,000 Japanese soldiers choose to die honorably for their emperor in an all-out Gyokukai Gyokusai attack. They are killed almost to a man. American servicemen suffer 668 casualties. After the attack, the 4th Marine Division quickly advances towards Marpee Point at the northern tip of the island. They reach a place that is now known as Suicide Cliff.
There's a set from Star Trek, it looks like. Styrofoam rocks.
Hunger. Civilians seek refuge from the horror of battle in Saipan's cave. They place crucifixes or religious icons nearby to show U.S. servicemen that they are Christian civilians and not Japanese. All suffer great hunger and thirst. Men are forced out each night to search for food and water. Many never return. They construct tunnels. These tunnels are used as defense positions and for food and ammunition storage. Yeah, they've got the little cave set up.
Okay, that's why it's there. Okay.
Right, yeah. This, sorry, I'm going to zoom back a bit. This picture is of Suicide Cliff up on the north end of the island. The Japanese know they have no hope of victory on Saipan. Many choose to follow the Japanese code of honor and sacrifice their lives for the emperor. Many Japanese soldiers and civilians believe the vicious propaganda of the Japanese military and are frightened of their fate in the hands of the U.S. military. They kill themselves and their families out of fear. Others voluntarily surrender or are found by U.S. forces and relocated to internment. The 24th Infantry, one of 2 African-American combat units that see battle in the Pacific, earns the Presidential Unit Citation for mopping up Japanese holdouts. A group of 300 holdouts, led by Captain Sake Oba, elude capture for more than a year. The Marines recruit 64 Chamorro and Carolinian men to form the Marianas Marine Scouts. Scouts patrol for holdouts, participate in military expeditions, and destroy man-made caves and military hideouts. Nearly 55 years later, on January 31st, 2000, Scouts received recognition and honor, including a Purple Heart award for Cristino Sablan de la Cruz, the Japanese surrender for the army. The Battle for Tinian is a battle of firsts. U.S. forces carry out the first shore-to-shore amphibious assault, first ship to frontline supply delivery, and the first use of napalm. Japanese strategy to drive U.S. forces back to the sea fails and results in a change of battle tactics. Second and 4th Marine Division surprised the Japanese by landing on 2 tiny beaches, White Beach 1 and 2, in Tinian's northwest shore. Part about Tinian, which is a lot flatter than Saipan. War reaches other Mariana Islands. Tinian and Guam are invaded, while other islands are bypassed as American forces push towards Japan. The U.S. military sets up internment camps during the Battle of Saipan and Tinian, providing shelter for civilians and prisoners. I feel like we missed a video that was playing the other day. Okay. Can you hear it?
Sorta.
old radio announcement.
Yank.
Did you say yeah? Oh. This is almost the end. We're gonna walk back through because the video that I'm thinking about might be the one that I'll link to that they show. I guess it is that they show at the when you come into the visitor center. So definitely watch that video. Yeah. The link they got it on YouTube, so I'll put a link at the beginning and later on. I can't do it live, so I'll put the link in. And it's an interesting video. It has a lot of stuff. Yeah, just shots of when the Japanese knew they had lost, and leapt to their deaths off the cliffs in the north end of the island. I don't know. It's a shocking thing to watch. I guess that is.
Oh, there's like footage of that. Oh, geez.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, just a few shots in the video.
Yeah, that's probably hard to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's surprising too. They said that a lot of the Marines that went up to the north end of the island on ships, they said they couldn't sail up close to all the way to the cliffs of the islands because there were too many bodies in the water.
Oh man!
So it was several thousand.
Mm.
So I looked at. I didn't see the date. So come back over here, but they said the war ended in. Let's walk back over here for a second. Island secured. So the war ended on July 9th, 1944. Declare the island of Saipan secure. Okay, so that was July 9th, 1944. And then when did the Japanese surrender? That's here.
When did the Japanese surrender?
The whole war.
The war? Oh, okay. I don't remember that date.
September 2nd, 1945. So a little over a year after Saipan was secured, World War II officially comes to a close, September 2nd, 1945. Okay, so that's 1 year. Now over here, Chamorro and Carolinian internees released from, released from the camp July 4th, 1946, a year after World War II ends. Okay.
Could you say that again? You broke up just a little bit.
Sorry, I was just putting the dates together. So Saipan gets secured in 1944, the Japanese surrender in 1945, and 1 year later, the local islanders were released from the camp.
Yeah, I don't.
Feels like that was just a long time.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would do that.
Right. Sorry to keep going back and forth. But also, let's see. Okay, so the Japanese, Okinawan, and Koreans were released at about the same time in 1946. So on July 4th, when I was here last year, that's actually a holiday here, and of course it coincides with July 4th, Independence Day in the States. But that's the date that the people were released from the camp, and it's called Liberation Day.
Oh.
Complicated history.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, I'm sure we could look it up, but you gotta wonder what the reasons were for keeping those people locked up.
Right. Well, like you said, as long as the war was ongoing, I could kind of see it. Certainly during the battle, but yeah.
Yeah, to keep them out of the the field of fire and the war zone and stuff to keep them from getting hurt. Yeah, I can see that too. But yeah, for a whole year. I mean, how long did it take them to make sure the island was like everything was mopped up? I guess that was all done when the island was declared secured, right?
Right. That's what it means, for the island to be secured.
Okay. Yeah. See that in. Yeah, I don't know. You think once the war was over, that would really be like, well, there's no reason anymore to keep these people
One
locked
would
up.
think. So the Mariana Islands did not come into the United States right away. They became let's see if I can get the right wording. Someone released from internment camps to begin to work with Americans to rebuild their islands. They kind of skip it. That's interesting. So after the war, the islands went to the UN and spent the period between the end of the war, which was 1945, and March 24th, 1976, was when they actually signed the covenant that where they joined the United States. So that's several decades, 30 years that they spent under the UN. And the Visitor Center just kind of skips over that. But they did sign, so they signed an agreement with the U.S., and which is why they're considered an unincorporated territory now. So they get to make a lot of their own rules. They don't. They're not a state, and they're not under the direct. What do you call it? They're not directly under the federal government. So they have a contract basically with the United States, and that's why they get to have their own immigration rules and make a lot of their own policies.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of an interesting arrangement. Despite all the history that we were just talking about, they're one of the few parts of the United States that joined voluntarily.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I guess were we still sort of over there helping them with the rebuilding and all and protection and all, military.
You mean during the UN years? I'm not sure when they were part of the United Nations. I'm not sure if American troops were here or I'm not sure what was going on. It
seems like given the period, it would be in our interest to stay over there because it meant like the Russians couldn't get them or
right.
Some other communist nation over there couldn't just come over there and snap them up. It seems like that would be the decision, but obviously we don't. That information's not here, but.
Well, one of the less celebrated historic sites on the island is a listening post on the north end. That's a big satellite dish, and clearly it was from the late 20th century, which means it was a Cold War thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, you can go up there, you can drive up there and see it, but there's nothing there to like talk about it. It's not posted as a historic site.
But yeah, I bet there's nothing left in there.
I mean, the whole dish is there. The machinery is there, but and there's a concrete building next to it, but it's abandoned and there's nothing. You can see it on Google Maps. Actually, there's plenty of pictures. People like to go up there and take pictures, but there's nothing official there. It's kind of interesting. All right, well. This has been the Visitor Center.
Yeah.
Hope my voice came through the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure where to pitch it. It's very quiet in here because there's not a lot of people. I think we'll go back through take one last look. Do you have anything to add as we're on our way out?
I don't. Russ, do you have anything to add
or question anything that? As I said, I skipped over a lot of stuff because I'd just be standing here reading for 2 hours or more.
Yeah.
I tried to be a little selective, but if there's anything that either one of you guys found interesting that you wanted to know more about.
Well, they actually called it D-Day in Saipan, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
D-Day. June 15th, D-Day landing.
Russ says, no, I think it was cool to see. Yeah.
I think this pairs nicely with the museum here to get a full history of the island.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you had said, I think at some point in the last couple of days when we've been talking, this is World War II is a big deal on the island, obviously, because of not just the lives lost and all that kind of thing, but the change of the regime there and all. So
right, yeah. I mean, plenty of people have said that under the Japanese, things were nice, things were good, right up until the war and the military arrived, and then things start to go less good. But yeah, there's even to this day, there's not animosity towards the Japanese here. It's it's fondly remembered the Japanese time. I noticed one of the things that they had mentioned in there was that the Japanese brought free health care. It was like we didn't even do that to this day. Wow. Yeah, it's part of the culture too. Like obviously there have been many cultures here on the island. Foreign cultures that have been introduced from Spain to Japan, Germany, and now the U.S. But yeah, the Japanese tend to be remembered pretty fondly here.
Well, so even before that, like they talked about the different like indigenous islanders that came from other, like the Carolinians,
right? Yeah,
and all that were was a lot of change over their history through that. Probably not as quick as some of these other things we're talking about, because you're talking about the island changing hands between empires in what 100-ish years. Basically, it changed 4 times.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, it's an interesting history here on the island. Okay. Well, I'm not sure. We didn't really talk much about the future episodes. We have about 2 episodes remaining here on the island before we leave. I still have some paperwork to get back from the transit visas, but in March we will be headed for China.
Yeah. I guess maybe feeling the people at home, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, sure. If you haven't been following,
I don't know what's going on.
Well, anyway, if you're anything you're not sure on, just ask. But so we've been trying to get into China for over a year now, and so now that Hong Kong has reopened, which happened fairly recently, and I've got all the paperwork ready to go, I gave them a call, and they said I could come to Hong Kong and submit for the work visa for China, which is what I've been trying to get for over a year now. And so that's what we're going to do. And I've booked my flights, and I've gotten the Korean transit visa, and I'm waiting on I just am putting all the details in there because we've had so much go wrong over the past year. But it looks like it's going to work out. We're just waiting on that last transit visa through Vietnam. And I've already got my appointment in Hong Kong to go to the visa center. So should be able to do that, and that'll be March 10th. And I was saying just before we did the show, I'm going to try my best to do. Sorry, I was just reading Russ's message. I'm going to try my best to do episodes on the way because I've got long layovers in Seoul and Saigon, and I would like to. We'd like to be able to do episodes there, and then we've got a few days to wait in Hong Kong, which is also a city where we can do some really nice episodes. So while I'm there waiting, staying in a hostel, I'm gonna try and head out, and I'm gonna schedule those weeks this week as long as the transit visa comes through. If it, I mean, I don't know what to do if it doesn't, but it'll not create new problems. As soon as it comes through, I'm going to schedule some episodes in those places, and I hope you'll join. I hope you'll be able to show up. I know it'll be like every day for like a week, but hopefully, if the times are right, we'll be able to do it.
Yeah. We'll have to see closer to time, I guess. But yeah,
I mean, it's still a month off, and I haven't made the
try to be
schedule yet.
here.
So.
Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Well, and I hope the viewers too will tune in for that. So, yeah. Hope you'll show up. I'm still a little nervous because things have gone wrong so many times over the past year. So hopefully this will work out, and we'll end up in China. Stay tuned. You won't. Well, you'll be there virtually.
I guess that's true.
Yep.
I'll be.
You virtually won't have to travel.
My
right.
virtual consciousness will be there.
Your virtual consciousness. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. And if you're watching this in the future, tune in for the next video.
Yeah. Subscribe for more details on Wesley's Odyssey from Saipan.
Right, I did try and post on the YouTube messaging system that I have now to let people update people, let people know what's going on, and I will as soon as I get the that last transit visa through. I'll post and let you guys know that it all worked out, and we're on our way now. So thanks again for tuning in, and see you guys next time. Enjoy the next video.
Bye.
Bye.
Jag är där, och kan man kommer då se upp